What are you laughing at?
I was just like coming over the top. Just wanted to spoil it because you had that little like water.
But whereabouts are you? It looks like you're in somewhere different.
No, you know I'm in the little room with that lightsaber.
That's a fancy looking light, isn't it?
It's a hard one to get the colours right on because it's all stuck on the wall, the remote, so it's hard to work out what does what. But I just see you were like winding in. And I thought, whatever you do, don't say anything. Well, Callum says something. And it was like,
I'm completely ruined the entire introduction to the episode. We need to leave this bit in, I think. This bit definitely needs left in.
When we pull all the B-roll stuff together, that'll be. We'll do all the blooper reel.
Yeah, but today's a bit of an introduction anyway to optimizing delivery performance in manufacturing and how we can how that's close to our product and how we try to help our customers with that. So I don't know if you want to give a bit of an overview, Steve.
Well, I suppose it's one of the fundamentals that I think is delivery for everybody that's in manufacturing. It's all about the products that you're actually producing normally to an order. So it's important that you measure it. It's important that you know where you are at different parts of the manufacturing process. And then at the very end, you need to make sure that you're delivering it on time at the right price for people. So I think understanding where you are delivery wise is key to manufacturing performance and winning good customer faith. But I think also then as how that applies back to the product is that digitizing that process gives a whole different level of visibility that you can't possibly get if your factory floor runs on paperwork.
Yeah, key communication's a big part, isn't it? Both internal and external, with your staff, with your management staff, but also with your customers and with your suppliers, making sure that everybody's on the same page. Anybody can respond quickly to issues that arise through phone calls, email, notification services, whatever systems that a business use. It's clear and effective communication across the board, internally and externally, is a big factor in effective delivery. And when you talk about on time and in full, and making sure that your staff know when a project or a works order or a production order needs to be delivered, what date that's due on, and likewise your customer knows at their end when that's coming so that they can be ready for it. They know when the shipment's being made. It's really important that everybody knows exactly what's going on all the time, isn't it?
I think yeah, it's the reason people will order with you again, and it's that reliability and the ability to set targets and deliver them, is if you can be consistent with that, and that takes then being on top of all of your manufacturing niggles and troubles, which can take months, years to stabilize a process, but then even longer to optimize it and really improve it. If you know all the measures and you know you're delivering on time, that's a fundamental.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of hit like the two key points there: reliability and consistency with delivery. It's like, because if you're not reliable and consistent, then no one knows when things are going to show up, when it's going to be leaving the factory, arriving at the customer destination. So I feel like, especially even when digitizing it, if it's not reliable and once it's digitized, then no one's going to be using it, are they?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just, I suppose the key there is everything we know about the product now is it makes it so much easier when it's right in front of you. It's not, can you go and speak to logistics about whether that product is ready to ship, or can you talk about whether the raw material is at the start of the process or in the middle of the process. Suddenly when you can see that, you can make different levels of decisions around productivity and performance, and you're empowered. So whichever role you're in, administering a factory operation, you can make better decisions, and it becomes inevitable that drops into performance and then makes you more profitable, which it becomes everybody's interest. Yeah, I think when customers can log on and increase the volume on an order or make changes, but then they roll through that process so that everybody is seeing the impact of that in real time, again allows them to make decisions, which means that you're going to fulfill that customer order and they're going to be a satisfied, happy customer and pay the price that you want to be paid for that service and product. So the capability not do that manually through emails to then some sort of spreadsheet update to then print offs that then have to be transferred to the production floor and the different departments for pick lists and so on. It just becomes incredibly powerful that everybody who's doing the hard work as well, moving and shifting raw materials and product around, they can do that bit with ease as well, knowing that they're not going to be asked to put it back, or excuse me, we've increased the volume of that and it's now 4 hours after you picked it, can you do it again? Which is inefficient and leaves a lot of process waste in there. So it allows business to remove all of those challenges. And again, it just inevitably drops to the bottom line in that delivery performance.
Yeah, trying to automate your workflow tools, that's a really important thing that we're trying to build into our product, isn't it? And making sure that processes are streamlined and trying to automate tasks, reducing that human error element of it when you've got paperwork, and we're trying to help businesses ultimately reduce paperwork on with our system. And one system that Matt's been working on, which is reducing that human error, is like an SOP style system that he's been working on very heavily with the customer. If he wants to give us a bit of an overview of that.
Yeah, so it's basically works exactly as an SOP should. It just goes through the SOP step by step with all the instructions, the requirements for each step. So it's all just kind of laid out as clear as possible for the operator, while also taking in any specific requirements for that step. For example, if the data entry needs to be within a specific range or can't be above or below a certain value, it physically stops the operator from going forwards unless they meet those requirements, which is quite a huge thing that was kind of pointed out by one of our customers, is just to kind of take out that human, I don't want to say take out the human component, but just to avoid that human error, like Callum was saying, because we're seeing a lot of operators just putting in the kind of first number they see without actually properly reading the requirements, and then those outside the range that was required, without actually making the adjustments necessary to get it within that.
Yeah, and this is obviously information which will be passed down to the customer at the end to say your product is built to this tolerance and within these boundaries and numbers, and the fact that that's like the specification for what's being produced by at the end of the production line. And if the information that they haven't got isn't correct, then maybe the customer that you're passing that information on to, they might not be the end user of the product. They could go and use that down the line and pass that down to 3 or 4 other businesses, and that could be second, third, fourth hand information that could be fundamentally incorrect in the first place. So capturing that key data right at the front end and making sure that's correct and setting the right tolerance levels for that is really, really critical in some cases.
Yeah, well, I think it's, I compare it, my children are relatively young, but they use this thing called TikTok, and I keep seeing this video of like what we ordered and what we got. And I think in a manufacturing sense, people just want what they ordered. They don't want any deviation from that, no variation. They want a real detailed specification, and they want to deliver on time to that specification. And I think I see that through the process that you've fed back from those customers, and the guys, Matt has sort of built to that, is recognizing how valuable and important that is to our customers, or the manufacturing customers, should I say, is that's all people want. They just want excellence in what they're buying consistently and reliably, and they'll come again and again. So it's really important that people have the tools around them to make them reliable and consistent. And working in paperwork, for example, works against that. It makes it incredibly hard and difficult to trace things through the factory floor, build job packs and provide that information back to a customer. The ability to say we have all that digitally, it's time stamped. We know which operator, we know which ingredient, we know which material, which parts, in a very streamlined way. Again, just becomes an incredibly important part of what we've recognized businesses need. But then doing that in such an elegant, finessed, easy way for operators and team managers and people within a factory to do and execute means it does the job that it's intended for.
trying to make systems mobile and easy to use as well, isn't it? It's staff within a business are always going to use a system if it's easier. They're not going to overlook it and they go, I can't be bothered to do that. It's and you find a lot of that negative culture, as we talked on kind of, I think it was a couple of episodes ago, wasn't it? About how we're trying to bring the influence those cultural and behavioural trends with our product. It's trying to make something and present it to the staff in the business. It's so easy to use. They haven't got an excuse not to use it. It's beneficial for them to be using it, and something that they can use on their existing workstation or a tablet or a phone. But you haven't got to go out there and buy fancy hardware and install it in your machines, or fancy Android tablets that cost thousands of pounds. They like, our app can be used on anything, and that's the beauty of it. It's the simplicity and mobile application side, and that really helps drive your delivery performance if your operators are engaged in filling out the correct information live in real time on the phone in a mobile view. And it's there you go. That gives your supervisor staff and your sales staff immediate visibility of where the product's at and ultimate delivery.
Yeah. In terms of order intake, they'll know if they're able to take that volume because confidence gets higher and higher, and I suppose it comes back to that idiot proofing, the poker yoke procedures that on paperwork it's very easy for people to document things wrong, write in the wrong box. The workflows when you're digitizing it, and the guys are built in SQCDP, prevent all of that and make it very hard to get something wrong. And when it's hard to get something wrong, it's very easy to get something right, which then affects your ability to deliver that product on time. So
I think just kind of adding to that, it's when you move from the paper system to a digitized system, the increase in traceability is huge as well. So even if something does go wrong, you can easily find out like where and why it went wrong. And I think a lot of people kind of not ignore but don't see the value in that, where they can target specific areas that are often coming up and causing these problems, and specifically target them and get rid of them. Whereas if it's in the paper systems, more often than not, from what we've heard from customers, is they don't even have the manpower and time to look at the paper, the sheets of paper that they're taking in. So it just gets like sat there in warehouses, nothing done with it.
Yeah, with a digital system, ultimate operator accountability is far easier to trace, isn't it? You've done a lot of work on the users we're based within our application, and trying to give people individualized logins so that throughout the entire system, every single data input's completely traceable, isn't it?
Yeah, so like I said, just find out exactly where whatever went wrong happened, and how can they make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I think key is that you've sort of baked into the product the ability to find a root cause or demand a root cause when something is observed and is seen to be out of tolerance or out of specification or incorrect. And what that does is it just makes it easier to problem manage and say, right now we have to get to the bottom of this problem because this is the biggest problem in the last 24 hours. This is what's having the biggest impact on deliveries or quality even. And the ability to bring that root cause back into the product, back to an owner, back to accountability for where things went wrong, whether that's human error or typically what we're seeing is that it isn't human error, it's other procedures or other influences, but they may often look like it's just bad operating practice. And seeing those things and being able to address those things through management and action management is where teams are empowered to be better versions of that same team working with a paper system.
So are we going to wrap it up there?
I'm happy to wrap it up. I suppose one thing when we talk about delivery is just when things are in paperwork, they're always in an 8-hour or a 24-hour delay, it seems. And I think you've just triggered sort of me to think of the ability to interact with the product and see when things are falling behind or falling short of target and intervene. So people who are remote to the factory, maybe sitting in an office or they're in another area, but getting notifications that a particular process is falling behind or that things aren't on track because they've spotted them on the dashboard. That's such a world away from the world I lived in manufacturing. where the paper systems wouldn't tell you anything until the following day, which meant retrospectively you could look back to see where the issues were if everything had been compiled and brought back to the meeting.
No, that's great. I think we'll leave it there for today.